Frank Miller liked his morning routine. Every day he woke up at 5:30 a.m., made coffee, and went to his roof with binoculars to watch birds before work. His wife Nancy thought it was strange, but Frank found peace in these quiet moments. As the warehouse manager for Sacramento Valley Distribution, he rarely got quiet time once his day started. This Tuesday morning seemed normal until Frank looked up at the sky. 3 dark shapes hung there, too big and too still to be planes. He adjusted his binoculars. The objects were massive ships, unlike anything he had ever seen. Frank's hands shook as he reached for his phone. "Nancy, wake up and turn on the TV," he said, his voice surprisingly calm. Something is happening. Across the country in Washington, D.C., President Eleanor Wright was already in an emergency meeting. The ships had appeared simultaneously over major cities worldwide. Military attempts to communicate had received no response. "Madam President, we need to decide on a response," said General Paul Harris. "The public is panicking." President Wright looked at the satellite images. "Have we tried all communication channels?" "Yes, ma'am. Nothing yet." She took a deep breath. "Keep our forces on alert but do not engage. I want to avoid mistakes if these visitors are peaceful." As they spoke, screens in the room suddenly turned on by themselves. A face appeared. Humanoid but clearly not human. Its skin was pale blue with intricate patterns. Its eyes were large and completely black. "People of Earth," the creature said in perfect English. "Your planet is now under the protection and guidance of the Varelian Empire. Resistance is unnecessary and would only result in avoidable suffering. Prepare to receive instructions for your integration." The message repeated in different languages on every electronic device across the world. In his hidden research facility in Colorado, Dr. Albert Ross watched the broadcast with less surprise than most. For 15 years, he had studied unusual signal patterns from deep space. His colleagues had laughed at his theories about intelligent communication. Now, as he analyzed the broadcast signal, he confirmed it matched exactly the patterns he had documented. Dr. Ross quickly packed essential equipment into his old truck. If his theories were correct, what came next would not be friendly. He needed to reach his cabin in the mountains where he had built a signal-protected lab. By noon, the first Varelian ships landed in open spaces near major cities. Smaller craft emerged, carrying beings similar to the one from the broadcast. They moved with grace that seemed unnatural. Each landing site quickly became a control center with technology that assembled itself. In Chicago, Samantha Powell was working on a construction site when the announcement came. Unlike others who ran home or stood frozen, Sam remembered something important. The building they were renovating connected to old maintenance tunnels she had helped map last year. When she saw strange aircraft approaching, she guided her co-workers below ground. "We need to stay quiet and wait," she whispered. "My dad was military. He always said if something bad happens, don't run with the crowd." The Varelians moved efficiently. Within hours, they deployed small drones that dispersed a fine mist in crowded areas. People who breathed it became calm and compliant. Security forces who attempted to fight were quickly disabled by weapons that caused temporary paralysis without visible injury. In New York, college student Eric Johnson was walking to class when the mist descended. He felt a strange calm wash over him, followed by an overwhelming desire to follow directions. When a Varelian approached and instructed him to walk toward a processing center, he obeyed without question. Inside the center, humans lined up quietly, as Varelian medical technicians implanted small devices at the base of their skulls. Eric felt a brief pinch, then a sense of connection to something larger. His thoughts remained his own, but his will to resist disappeared. When instructed to return to normal activities but report for work assignment tomorrow, he simply nodded. Dr. Ross reached his cabin as night fell. He immediately activated his specialized equipment. The cabin, appearing rustic from outside, contained advanced technology he had built over years, shielded from detection. He connected his old ham radio and began broadcasting on frequencies few still used. "This is Dr. Albert Ross. If anyone receiving this is free of Varelian influence, please respond. I believe I understand their control technology." To his surprise, replies came quickly. A network of ham radio enthusiasts, preppers, and remote communities had maintained their independence. Some had avoided the control mist by luck. Others had recognized the danger and isolated themselves in time. By midnight, President Wright and most government officials had received implants. They continued their roles, but now served Verilian interests. The president addressed the nation with empty eyes, assuring citizens that cooperation would ensure peace and prosperity. Frank Miller had escaped with Nancy when he saw the ships. His birdwatching hobby had made him familiar with remote locations. They now hid in a small hunting cabin owned by a friend, listening to Dr. Ross on their emergency radio. "The aliens think we're simple," Frank said to Nancy. "But humans have been thinking about this exact situation for generations. We've written books and made movies about it in a way we've been preparing." Nancy looked doubtful. "How does science fiction help against real aliens with advanced technology?" "Because," Frank replied, adjusting the radio, "unlike the other species they've conquered, we're not just terrified. We recognize this situation, and that means we already have ideas about how to fight back." As night fell across America, two realities emerged. In cities, millions of humans with neural implants followed Verilian directives reorganizing society for resource extraction. But in shadows and remote places, free humans began connecting, sharing information and planning resistance. The Verilians had conquered 17 star systems using the same method. They expected complete submission within days. What they failed to understand was that humanity had something unique, generations of cultural preparation for this exact scenario, and a remarkable ability to adapt. Commander Zix Tal reported success to the Empire. Phase 1 of conquest was proceeding as planned. Earth would soon join their collection of productive worlds. Yet as he filed his report, he couldn't explain a strange feeling of unease. Something about these humans seemed different. 3 weeks passed since the Verilians arrived. Cities around the world now had tall, silver control centers. Most people walked around with empty eyes, going to work, following orders from their new rulers. The aliens established routines quickly. They needed Earth's resources and human labor to get them. Samantha Powell moved carefully through Chicago's underground tunnels. She had gathered 23 people who had escaped the mind control. They lived in abandoned subway sections, venturing out only at night for supplies. Today was different. Sam had a plan. "We need to learn more about how their technology works," she told the group. "I'm going to follow the supply trucks to their main center tonight." Jeff, a former police officer, shook his head. "Too dangerous. Their sensors will detect you." Sam pulled out a small device. "Not with this. I found it on a broken drone. I think it broadcasts their identification signals." In New York, Eric Johnson worked in a processing center. The implant made him follow orders, but, strangely, his thoughts remained partly his own. The Verilians used him to sort other humans by skills. Scientists and engineers went to research facilities. Strong workers went to mining operations. Artists and creative thinkers were sent to special units that puzzled Eric. During his lunch break, Eric noticed something unusual. When he sat near the center's power generator, his thoughts became clearer. The constant pressure of the implant weakened slightly. He didn't show any outward change, but inside, Eric began planning. Each day, he spent his break near the generator, strengthening his mind. Dr. Albert Ross had connected with resistance groups across the country through old radio networks. His mountain cabin became a research center. People brought him captured Verilian technology to study. Their neural implants operate on frequencies similar to human brainwaves, he explained to Frank and Nancy Miller, who had joined him last week. But they made a mistake. The implants adjust to each person's unique brain pattern. This creates a vulnerability. Dr. Ross showed them a small device he had built. This sends out countering signals. It won't remove the implants, but it can disrupt their control temporarily. The problem is range. It only works for about 20 feet. Frank examined the device. "What if we could broadcast this signal more widely?" "We'd need access to their communication network," Dr. Ross replied. "They control all satellite and transmission systems now." Nancy, who had worked as an IT specialist, looked thoughtful. Maybe not all. Some old emergency broadcast systems were designed to operate independently if they didn't know about them. In orbit above Earth, Commander Zixtal reviewed progress reports. Resource extraction was proceeding efficiently. Humans were easier to control physically than most species they had conquered. But something troubled him. Science Officer Mielvor, he called. These compliance reports show inconsistencies. Explain. The science officer displayed brain scan data. Humans show unusual neurological patterns. Their brain chemistry varies widely between individuals. The standard implant protocol requires more frequent adjustments than with other species. Is this affecting productivity? Zixtal asked. No, Commander. In fact, some sectors exceed expectations. Human creativity is particularly useful for solving engineering problems. The art division has made breakthroughs in crystalline structure design that our specialists couldn't achieve. Zixtal studied the reports. The Empire valued efficiency above all. If humans were productive, small variations in control could be tolerated. Continue monitoring. Increase implant signal strength for any showing resistance. That night, Samantha Powell followed a Verilian supply truck. The device she carried prevented drones from identifying her as human. She reached the Chicago Control Center and found an air vent near the ground. Inside, she saw hundreds of humans working at stations. Verilian supervised but seemed to let humans handle most operations. Sam noticed something important. The Verilians wore small devices on their wrists that controlled the human workers. When they wanted specific actions, they adjusted settings on these controllers. She watched for hours, learning the patterns before returning to the tunnels. They don't directly control every action, she told her group. They give general commands, and the implants make humans want to follow them. But the humans still solve problems their own way. In Washington, D.C., President Wright sat in meetings with Verilian officials, outwardly cooperative. Deep in her mind, however, a small part of her consciousness fought against control. Each day, this awareness grew stronger. When alone in the White House residence, she found she could sometimes move her hand against Verilian commands. These moments of freedom lasted only seconds, but they were increasing. 3 months after the invasion, something unexpected happened. In a mining operation in Colorado, a human worker named Steve Garcia suddenly removed his protective gear and walked into a dangerous area. Verilian supervisors tried to command him back, but he didn't respond to implant signals. Before they could stop him, he reached a control panel and locked down the facility. Similar incidents began occurring worldwide. Humans would suddenly act independently, often doing small acts of sabotage before being restrained. Verilian scientists increased implant signal strength, but this only seemed to accelerate the problem. Dr. Ross received reports of these incidents through the growing resistance network. It's happening faster than I expected, he told his team. Human brains are adapting to the implant signals. Frank asked, is this good? If they just increase the strength, won't people be hurt? That's why we need to act now, Dr. Ross replied. I've improved the disruptor design. We can now build them from common electronics parts. He handed out paper instructions. No digital copies. Spread these manually to every group you can reach. In Trow, Space Commander Zixtal faced a difficult conversation with Imperial Command. The situation remains under control, he reported, but we're observing unusual neural adaptation in the human population. Increase suppression protocols. The Imperial Overseer ordered. We have Overseer. However, their brains seem to incorporate our technology rather than submit to it. Some implanted humans show signs of enhanced abilities after prolonged exposure. The Overseer looked concerned. This is unprecedented. Continue observation, but prepare containment procedures. If this adaptation poses any threat, you are authorized to implement planetary sterilization. As night fell across America, a new phase of the struggle began. Humans were changing in ways neither they nor their would-be masters fully understood. The neural technology designed to enslave them was becoming something else entirely, a pathway to unexpected evolution. 6 months had passed since the Verilians arrived on Earth. In their control centers, alarm signals flashed more often now. The aliens held urgent meetings to discuss a growing problem. Their mind control technology was failing in new and strange ways. In Seattle, warehouse supervisor Kelly Martinez appeared to follow all commands perfectly. She organized shipments of Earth minerals to Verilian ships with great efficiency. The aliens considered her a model worker. What they didn't know was that Kelly was fully aware and in control of her own mind. She had learned to trick the implant, making it think she was obeying while actually sending half the resources to hidden resistance locations. "Remember to shift your thoughts when they scan you," Kelly whispered to her coworker Greg. She had taught 20 workers her technique. "Think about doing your job correctly, but let your hands do something different." In Atlanta, high school teacher Doug Williams made another important discovery. Before the invasion, he had practiced meditation for years. One day during a quiet moment, he realized he could completely disconnect from his implant for short periods by using specific breathing patterns and mental exercises. The aliens never noticed because he appeared calm and compliant on the outside. Doug now secretly taught his technique to students after work hours. "Breathe in for 4 counts," he instructed a small group in the empty school building. "Hold for 7, exhale for 8. Focus on the space between your thoughts." A 16-year-old girl named Lily mastered the technique first. "It's like finding a door in your mind," she explained to others. "Once you know it's there, you can slip through whenever you need to." Dr. Albert Ross had emerged from hiding. His network of resistance fighters now spanned continents. They communicated using code phrases over public Verilian announcement systems and left markers in plain sight that looked like normal graffiti to aliens, but contained hidden messages for humans. At his new lab in an abandoned mining facility, Dr. Ross studied removed implants. "These devices are changing," he told Frank and Nancy Miller. "They're adapting to human brains, but the adaptation goes both ways. Our brains are integrating with their technology." Frank looked concerned. "Is that dangerous?" "It should be," Dr. Ross replied, "but something unexpected is happening. Instead of the technology controlling us more effectively, humans are gaining control of the technology. Some people report being able to access Verilian knowledge through their implants." Nancy had removed her jacket, revealing a small bump at the base of her skull. "I volunteered for an implant last month," she explained, seeing Frank's shocked expression. "I can control it now, and I can understand their language when they speak among themselves." "They're scared, Frank." In his command ship, Zixtal reviewed increasingly disturbing reports. "Explain this immediately," he demanded of his science officer. Mielvor displayed brain scans from hundreds of humans. Their neural pathways are reconfiguring at an accelerating rate. The implants are being incorporated into their nervous systems, but not as external control devices. The humans are integrating our technology into their own bodies. "Remove all implants," Zixtal ordered. "We've attempted this, Commander. When removed, the humans experience severe pain, but continue showing signs of connection to our systems. More concerning, some humans are developing abilities we can't explain. They're accessing our databases without authorization and modifying our equipment." The first major shock came when a Verilian engineer discovered one of their communication devices had been modified. The changes weren't damage or sabotage. They were improvements the aliens had never conceived. The power efficiency had increased by 300%. Aaron Lee, the human responsible, had been a simple electronics repair technician before the invasion. Now, with an implant, his understanding of technology had expanded dramatically. When questioned, he explained his improvements with such clarity that the Verilian engineers fell silent in surprise. "I just saw how the energy flow could be redirected," Aaron explained calmly. "Your design was already good, but there was a pattern you didn't notice." Across the world, similar incidents multiplied. Implanted humans began showing enhanced abilities in their areas of expertise. Musicians created sounds that affected Verilian emotional centers. Farmers improved alien food production techniques. Doctors developed treatments that worked on both species. President Eleanor Wright had regained full control of her mind while still appearing compliant. From her position, she could access critical information. During a seemingly routine meeting with Verilian officials, she memorized security protocols and later transmitted them to resistance groups using a modified implant connection. Dr. Ross received this information with great interest. The implants are becoming a network, he told his growing team of scientists. Humans can communicate with each other through them, without the Verilians detecting it. It's like we've built a secret internet inside their control system. Commander Zixtal faced the most difficult decision of his career. Reports now indicated that at least 30% of implanted humans had developed resistance to control while gaining enhanced abilities. Their primitive technology was rapidly advancing by incorporating Verilian principles. Most alarming, some humans could now operate Verilian equipment by mental command, something only the highest Verilian officers could do. We must implement containment protocols, he told his command staff. Prepare the sterilization process. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Velinar, disagreed. Commander, I believe we should consider alternative approaches. These humans are showing adaptation capabilities beyond anything in our records. They could be valuable allies rather than slaves. The Empire does not make allies, Zixtal snapped. We conquer, prepare the protocols. What neither of them realized was that their entire conversation was being observed. Eric Johnson, still working at the New York Processing Center, had developed his implant connection to the point where he could tap into the command ship's communications. He instantly relayed the sterilization plan to the resistance network. Dr. Ross received the warning and called an emergency meeting. The Verilians plan to eliminate all life on Earth. We need to act now. Nancy Miller, her implant now fully under her control, spoke up. We don't just want freedom anymore, we should offer partnership. Some Verilians, like this Sub-Commander Velinar, see our potential. Frank looked at his wife with new respect. How do we reach them? Zixtal won't listen. We don't ask, Dr. Ross said firmly. We show them what humans have become. That night, across the world, enhanced humans activated their modified implants simultaneously. For the first time, they didn't hide their abilities. They connected directly to Verilian systems, demonstrating not just resistance, but mastery. The message was clear. Humans would no longer be controlled. But they offered something the Verilians had never considered: genuine cooperation between equals. The night the enhanced humans revealed their true abilities became known as the Awakening. In every Verilian facility around the world, screens lit up with the same message. We offer partnership, not submission. Commander Zixtal watched in disbelief as humans operated Verilian technology with surprising skill. Reports flooded in from every control center. The neural implants that should have enslaved humans had instead created a network of enhanced minds working together. Activate the sterilization protocol immediately, Zixtal ordered. His officers moved to obey, but nothing happened. The command systems did not respond. We have temporarily disabled your weapons systems, said a calm voice. On the main screen appeared Dr. Albert Ross, his eyes clear and focused. We mean you no harm, but we will not allow Earth to be destroyed. In Detroit, factory worker Lisa Diaz walked confidently into the Verilian Engine Research Facility. Before the invasion, she had never finished high school, dropping out to support her family. Now, with her enhanced mind, she understood Verilian propulsion technology better than some of their own engineers. Your fuel mixture is inefficient, she told the startled alien scientists, speaking their language perfectly. I can show you how to improve power output by 40%. The Verilian engineers stared as Lisa drew complex diagrams and equations. What she proposed should not have been possible, yet their calculations confirmed she was correct. In Houston, nurse practitioner Ben Carter had been working in a medical center, treating both humans and Verilians. The aliens had superior technology, but limited understanding of human biology. Ben's implant had given him insight into both species. Your healing techniques and our body's natural responses can work together, Ben explained to Verilian Medical Officer Trelpak. He demonstrated a new procedure that combined human stem cell therapy with Verilian regenerative technology. A wounded Verilian soldier's damaged tissue began healing at an unprecedented rate, Trelpak observed in amazement. This is beyond our medical knowledge. It's neither human nor Verilian, Ben replied. It's something new we created together. Across Earth, similar breakthroughs happened in every field. Humans with enhanced abilities didn't just understand Varalian technology, they improved it in ways the aliens had never imagined. Commander Zixtal faced a crisis. The sterilization protocol remained locked. His command staff divided into factions, some wanting to destroy Earth before humans became more powerful, others fascinated by human adaptability and potential. Sub-Commander Velenar led those, favoring cooperation. Commander, in 17 conquered systems, we've never encountered a species that could integrate our technology this way. The Empire always seeks advancement. These humans offer something valuable. They are resisting control, Zixtal countered. The Empire does not tolerate resistance. Perhaps the Empire needs to evolve too, Velenar suggested quietly. Dr. Ross and President Wright coordinated the human response from Washington. Enhanced humans now worked openly with cooperative Varalians. They didn't just want freedom, they wanted partnership. We need to contact their empire directly, President Wright said. Zixtal follows orders. We need to change those orders. In his mountain facility, Aaron Lee had been studying Varalian communication technology. With his enhanced understanding, he had built something new, a device that could send signals faster than the aliens' own systems. We can reach their homeworld now, Aaron told Dr. Ross over their secure implant connection. We can speak directly to their leaders. Frank and Nancy Miller worked with resistance groups to spread the new reality to ordinary humans. The implants were now a choice, not a control method. Those who accepted them gained enhanced abilities. Those who preferred to remain unchanged were respected equally. The important thing, Frank told a group of nervous citizens, is that humans decide our own future. Some will work closely with Varalian technology, others won't. Both paths are valuable. On the Varalian command ship, a desperate plan formed among Zixtal's loyal officers. If they couldn't activate the main weapons, they would manually override the engines to crash the massive ship into Earth's surface. The impact and resulting explosion would devastate half the planet. Eric Johnson, still monitoring command ship communications, detected the plan immediately. Through the implant network, he alerted Dr. Ross and other enhanced humans. We need access to their engine controls, Dr. Ross said urgently. Lisa Diaz responded, I understand their engines now. With enough connected minds, we could take control, remotely. We need a direct connection to their system, Aaron Lee added, someone physically present on the command ship. President Wright made a bold decision. I'll go. As Earth's leader, I should represent humanity. Within hours, a small craft carried President Wright to the Varalian command ship. She brought no weapons, only the confidence of someone who understood both species now. Surprisingly, Sub-Commander Velenar met her at the docking bay. Commander Zixtal has locked himself in the engine control room with loyal officers, Velenar explained. They plan to destroy your world and themselves with it. Then we must stop them together, President Wright replied. As they hurried through the ship, more Varalians joined them. Many had seen human potential and wanted cooperation rather than conquest. They reached the sealed engine room as alarms began to sound. Inside, Zixtal had begun the overload sequence. The Empire conquers or destroys, he told his officers. There is no compromise. Outside, President Wright placed her hand on a control panel. Through her implant, she connected to the human network. Thousands of enhanced minds joined together, reaching into the ship's systems. Lisa Diaz's understanding of the engines guided them. Aaron Lee's communication breakthroughs strengthened the connection. The engine room doors slid open. Inside, control panels flashed with new commands, reversing the overload. Zixtal stared in shock as systems responded to human control. Impossible, he whispered. Not impossible, President Wright said, entering the room. Just a different path than you expected. Your empire sent you to find resources. We offer something far more valuable. Partnership and new possibilities neither of our species could achieve alone. The battle was brief, but decisive. Zixtal and a few loyal officers resisted, but most Varalians on the ship sided with Velenar. As Zixtal was taken into custody, he looked at President Wright with new understanding. "We haven't found another species to conquer," he acknowledged. "We've awakened one that surpasses us." President Wright shook her head. "Not surpasses, complements. Together we can become something greater than either of us alone." News of the events on the command ship spread quickly. Across Earth, humans and Viralians began working openly together. The forced control had become voluntary cooperation, creating possibilities neither species had imagined before. 1 year had passed since the Viralians first appeared in Earth's skies. The world looked very different now. The tall silver control centers still stood in major cities, but they had become places of learning and cooperation rather than enslavement. Frank Miller walked through what had once been his warehouse in Sacramento. The building now housed a transportation hub where both human and Viralian ships arrived and departed. Frank, once a simple warehouse manager, now coordinated shipments across the solar system. "The supply vessels from Mars will arrive tomorrow," a Viralian worker reported to him. "The mining operation is exceeding expectations." Frank nodded. "Make sure the Earth goods are ready for the return trip. The Martian workers need fresh supplies." Humans now worked throughout the solar system. With Viralian technology and human adaptability, establishing bases on the Moon and Mars had taken months, not decades. These weren't just scientific outposts, but thriving communities. In Washington, D.C., President Eleanor Wright led a transformed government. The old national boundaries still existed, but a new global council made decisions affecting all of humanity. Viralian representatives participated as advisors rather than rulers. "The integration proceeds faster than expected," reported Sub-Commander Velenar, now the official representative of the Viralian crew remaining on Earth. Since Zixtal's removal, Velenar had embraced cooperation fully. "We should discuss the situation with the other conquered worlds," President Wright suggested. "If the same partnership could work there, all our species would benefit." The neural interface technology had evolved dramatically. No longer tools of control, the implants were now voluntary enhancements. About 30% of humans chose to receive them, gaining abilities that would have seemed magical a year earlier. Those who preferred to remain unmodified lived alongside enhanced humans, each group respecting the other's choice. Dr. Albert Ross headed a new research institute where human and Viralian scientists worked together. Their focus was understanding the unique compatibility between human brains and Viralian technology. "The key is neuroplasticity," Dr. Ross explained to visitors. "Human brains can rewire themselves in ways Viralians didn't anticipate. When their control technology connected with our minds instead of simply making us obey, it created new neural pathways. We adapted to their technology and then improved it." Nancy Miller worked alongside him, leading a team studying communication enhancements. "We can now share knowledge directly from mind to mind," she demonstrated, connecting briefly with a volunteer. "Not just facts, but experiences and perspectives." In schools across the world, children learned both human and Viralian history and sciences. Young minds adapted even more quickly to the new technologies. Lily, the Atlanta student who had first mastered Doug Williams' meditation technique, now taught others how to use their enhanced abilities responsibly. "The connection should never control you," she told her students. "You control it. Remember that technology is a tool, not a master." Even Eric Johnson, who had monitored Viralian communications during the crisis, found a new purpose. His unique understanding of both species made him valuable as a cultural interpreter. He traveled between communities, helping humans and Viralians understand each other better. "Our biggest advantage was science fiction," Eric often explained. "For generations, humans imagined meeting aliens. We wrote stories about invasion and resistance. When it actually happened, we recognized the situation and adapted more quickly than the Viralians expected." In orbit above Earth, former Commander Zixtal watched the planet from the viewing port of his quarters. He wasn't a prisoner exactly, but his movements were restricted. After months of anger, he had begun to observe with genuine curiosity. "You've visited me every week for a year," he said to Ben Carter, who had become his doctor and reluctant friend. Why? Because understanding each other matters, Ben replied. You came to conquer us, but instead you gave us something valuable, a challenge that made us grow. Zixtal turned from the window. The Empire will not accept this arrangement. When they learn what has happened, they will send a larger fleet. We know, Ben said calmly. We've been preparing. Word had reached Earth 3 months earlier that the Greater Verilian Empire had dispatched a massive fleet to investigate the silence from Zixtal's mission. Humans and Earth's Verilians had worked together to establish an early warning system and defenses. In deep space, at the edge of the solar system, the Imperial fleet finally arrived. 20 ships, each larger than Zixtal's command vessel, prepared to restore Imperial control over both Earth and the rogue Veralians, who had joined with humans. Fleet Admiral Krasnor sent the standard Imperial demand. Submit to Imperial authority immediately. Resistance will result in planetary sterilization. The response surprised him. Instead of fear or defiance, a simple message returned. We welcome peaceful exchange, but the time of conquest is over. Please send representatives to discuss mutual benefit. The Admiral was not interested in discussion. He ordered the fleet to advance toward Earth. As they approached Mars' orbit, sensors detected unusual energy readings. The humans had established a defensive perimeter using modified Verilian technology. Primitive beings cannot operate our systems effectively, the Admiral declared confidently. Continue advance. What happened next shocked the Imperial fleet. Their weapons couldn't penetrate the defensive shield surrounding Earth. More surprising, their own ship systems began behaving erratically. Communications failed, engines stalled. A small vessel approached the command ship. Inside were President Wright, Dr. Ross, and Velinar. They requested permission to board and speak with the Admiral. Faced with malfunctioning systems and curiosity about how humans had achieved this, Krasnor agreed. Your conquest model is outdated, President Wright explained once they met. We offer something better. Partnership has given both our species more progress in 1 year than the Empire achieved through force in centuries. Dr. Ross added, We don't want conflict. We want to extend the same opportunity to other worlds in your empire. Freedom and cooperation create more benefits than control. Admiral Krasnor listened skeptically until Velinar provided evidence of the technological advances humans and Verilians had made together. The medical breakthroughs alone were impressive enough to catch the Admiral's attention. The Empire exists to advance our species, Krasnor acknowledged. If this partnership truly offers advancement. As the discussions continued, Earth prepared its next steps. Humans were already planning to reach out to other subjugated worlds across the 17 star systems of the Verilian Empire. Not as conquerors, but as liberators and partners. Frank Miller stood on his roof one evening looking up at the stars through his old binoculars. Nancy joined him, taking his hand. Remember when you first saw their ships? She asked. Frank nodded. I was terrified. Now I work with them every day. What do you think happens next? Nancy wondered, looking at the night sky. Something nobody expected, Frank replied. They came to enslave us, but instead they connected us to the universe. Now neither species will be the same, and that's probably good for everyone. Above, them stars shone with new meaning. Humanity's future would not be confined to one planet. The attempted conquest had backfired in the most surprising way possible, by launching humans to the stars not as slaves, but as partners in something entirely new.